Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the boss. These are not my words, but those of Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who said in front of a jam-packed Indian diaspora audience in Sydney. The Australian Prime Minister heaped unrestrained praises on Narendra Modi, crediting him for making the Australian democracy stronger. The aura of brand Modi has mesmerized world leaders. The perception of his performance and personality are winning hearts and minds across the globe. The superpowers have admitted that Modi is a man who delivers and walks the talk. The adulation he received during his recent three-nation whirlwind trip is a testimony of Modi's rising popularity and global acceptance as a statesman par excellence. US President Joe Biden, too, paid glowing tributes to the Indian leader as a global torchbearer for democracy. From top leaders to common Americans, all of them are hooked to brand Modi, is what he said. Sounding like he had a fanboy moment, Biden even ended up saying maybe it was time he got Modi's autograph. We will bring you that bit, but first, let's take a listen in to what the Australian Prime Minister had to say today.
It is a huge pleasure to welcome Prime Minister Modi to Australia. I have to say that the warmth and the energy here tonight is absolutely second to none. I said to my friend, the Prime Minister, before, the last time I saw someone on the stage here was Bruce Springsteen, and he didn't get the welcome that Prime Minister Modi has got. Prime Minister Modi is the boss.
A better reception than Bruce Springsteen. That's what the Australian Prime Minister said. Sydney was all ears when Prime Minister Modi presented Bharat Ki Baat to Australia. Listen.
आज IMF भारत को ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी का ब्राइट स्पॉट मानता है। वर्ल्ड बैंक का विश्वास है कि ग्लोबल हेडविंड्स को अगर कोई चुनौती दे रहा है तो वो भारत है। आज दुनिया के कई देशों में बैंकिंग सिस्टम पर संकट है, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ भारत के बैंकों की मजबूती की आज चारों तरफ प्रशंसा हो रही है। आज दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी और सबसे युवा टैलेंट फैक्ट्री जिस देश में है वो है सही जवाब दे रहे हैं आप, वो है इंडिया। भारत अपने हितों को सबके हितों से जोड़कर देखता है। सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास, ये हमारी डोमेस्टिक गवर्नेंस का भी आधार है और ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस के लिए भी यही विजन है।
But what made the Australian Prime Minister declare Modi the boss? Is it because Prime Minister Modi is widely seen as a decisive leader who has delivered back-to-back historical domestic mandates for his right of the centre nationalist party, the BJP? Or is it because he has refocused India's foreign policy with a fusion of twin principles of India first in a global family summarized in his slogan of Vasudeva Kutumbakam? Viewers, Modi's foreign policy is winning recognition since it has married attractive slogans with effective delivery. Simply put, Prime Minister Modi, many say, is seen as a leader who walks the talk. Under him, his foreign visits have become a statement of India's commitment to global partnership that delivers at the time of need. The question tonight is also, why is the world recognizing him as this great leader? It is because he's the first Indian Prime Minister to have visited Australia in 28 years in 2014. Again, in the same year, he became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Nepal in 17 years. He's also the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the island nation Papua New Guinea in this three-nation tour. In 2015, he became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the United Arab Emirates in 30 years and the first Indian PM to visit Israel in 2017. It may seem curious, if not ironical, that a leader who figuratively has the world at his feet fails to find favor with the opposition within his own country. And the main opposition party today in India, the Congress, cited Modi's party's recent loss in Karnataka elections to suggest that his magic was actually a myth and that people in India were unimpressed. Listen.
देखिएगा, आज विश्व के अंदर एक उभरता हुआ नेतृत्व आदरणीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी के रूप में विश्व को मिल रहा है। आज संसार के अंदर जल की समस्या हो, पर्यावरण की समस्या हो, बॉर्डर की समस्या हो, युद्ध की समस्या हो, सबको लगता है मोदी जी उसका हल निकल पाएंगे कि मोदी जी ने जो नारा दिया है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, वन फैमिली वन फ्यूचर, ये नारा है, इसमें सब इस लोग समाहित हो जाते हैं। इसलिए जो मोदी जी का स्वागत हो रहा है, ये हिंदुस्तान की जनता बहुत अपने आप को गदगद महसूस करती है।
बैंगलोर से आ रहा हूँ, वहाँ पे भी बैंगलोर में भी प्रधानमंत्री ऐसे ऐसे कर रहे थे, कोई सुपरस्टार तो वहाँ किसी ने बोला नहीं। तो अब वो जो भी बोल रहे हैं, अब मैं उनके बारे में क्या बोलूँ कि भाई कौन कुछ भी कह रहे हैं कि सुपरस्टार है, बॉस है। अब मैं तो देश में लोग क्या कह रहे हैं उसके बारे में मेरी रुचि ज़्यादा है कि देश के लोग क्या कह रहे हैं। 13 तारीख को आपने देखा कि देश के लोगों ने प्रधानमंत्री जी को क्या कहा।
Well, the opposition is trying to make now the ordinance issue in Delhi as the center point of getting people together. Arvind Kejriwal led Delhi government's wings and rallied this point for support with Mamata Banerjee. And post that, there was a press conference that was held by the two of them together, and their only agenda was to defeat the BJP in Rajya Sabha ahead of the defeat in 2024 that the opposition is dreaming of. Listen in.
मैं सब पार्टी को अपील करेंगे कि अगर हर पार्टी हम एक साथ में ऑपोजिशन हो सकता है, दिस इज द मौका है, तो एक बहुत बड़ा मैसेज जाएगा देश के लिए कि हम बीजेपी को राज्यसभा में हरा सकते हैं, तो ऑर्डिनेंस भी जा सकता है। ये बीजेपी को हराने के लिए 24 से पहले एक बहुत मौका मिल गया। हमारा पार्टी से हम डिसाइड किया है, हम ये ऑर्डिनेंस को विरोध करेंगे और हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट का पास हम इसको जस्टिस मांगेंगे।
Just yesterday, Nitish Kumar, Bihar Chief Minister, was knocking on the doors of Aam Aadmi Party, the Congress Party, to get them together. And whatever issues they can scramble together, they want to scramble together, even over a cup of chai. Listen in to what political strategist Prashant Kishore had to say about these increasing frequency of chai parties between opposition parties in various parts of the country.
दलों के साथ में बैठकर चाय पीने से, साथ में बैठ के प्रेस वार्ता करने से विपक्षी एकता अगर होनी होती तो आज से 10 वर्ष में ये काम हो गया होता। नेताओं के आपस में मिलने से विपक्षी एकता नहीं हो सकती है। तो नीतीश कुमार जो विपक्षी एकता की बात कर रहे हैं, तो कम से कम बिहार का ही फॉर्मूला जारी कर दे कि बिहार में जदयू कितना सीट लड़ेगा, कांग्रेस कितनी सीट लड़ेगी और आरजेडी और उनके अन्य जो 4 सहयोगी दल हैं जो अभी सरकार में हैं, मांझी जी कितना सीट लड़ेंगे और सीपीआई, सीपीआईएम और सीपीआईएमएल कितने सीट लड़ेंगे।
So the legitimate question we're asking on the Newshour tonight is brand Modi beyond breach in 2024? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining me on the debate, Dr. Ajay Alok, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Smita Prakash, Editor ANI, Sanjay Jha, author, also suspended Congress leader, Abbas Haider, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Mr. Brij Mohan Srivastav, National Spokesperson of the NCP, Mr. JP Mojumdar, State Vice President and Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. Dr. Sanjay Jha, my first question to you. Are you with Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal on the ordinance issue? Because koi bhi bahana chahiye, and on Tuesday, May the 23rd, this is the bahana to get people together. And Mamata Banerjee has said it that in Rajya Sabha we can get together, and this is the biggest opportunity that has come. All this in the face of the popularity of Prime Minister Modi, not just in India, but abroad as well.
Navika, two short points. Number one, I think it is appalling, if not altogether a mammoth embarrassment for me as a citizen of my own country, to find that the Prime Minister has all the time in the world to do these roadshows in Bengaluru, to go to Australia and do this NRI diaspora razzmatazz, but he had no time to go to Manipur, where from the last reports I read, more than 60, almost 70 people were dead in communal riots and violence. And it is his government which runs Manipur, by the way. And number two, when you have wrestlers, Olympic champions, world champions, women wrestlers who have been on the streets for such a long time, and because the accusation is against a BJP member of parliament, Mr. Modi, who takes photo ops with badminton champions, cricketers and everybody else, has no time to even acknowledge the women champions of India, the Olympic champions of India. I want to make this point before I answer your question on brand Narendra Modi, for the simple reason that it's about time we called out our politicians, whether it's Mr. Modi or Mr. Shah or anybody else, because you don't have a right to take the fundamental duties that people expect of their political leaders. My second point, Mr. Modi getting some adulation abroad. Everyone is free to say what they say, but the truth is nowhere in the world, as part of global protocol, does one have a leader whom they try and run down or say that actually your religious freedom has been questioned by one and all, not just the US State Department, that the UN Human Rights Commission, that India's hate speeches have been talked about by India's Supreme Court, that at the end of the day India has made terrible news on democracy and constitutional breakdown, and the way we have attacked minorities in our country. I can quote you the HDI index, the gender disparity index, the World Press Freedom Index, that really tells you where India is. The big boss can go and do as much of event management as he wants. And I will tell you, Bharat ko rajneta ki zarurat hai, abhineta ki nahi. And there are serious problems within our country. Mr. Modi is obviously hurting after the very strong rebuff in Karnataka. But let me tell you, he can do all these fancy and extremely expensive, I would say, kind of event abroad, wherever he goes. But the truth is, it was Barack Obama who invited Dr. Manmohan Singh as his first state guest when he became the president, the first African-American president in the United States. It was George Bush who famously said that when Dr. Manmohan Singh speaks on economics, all of us in the G20 listen. I mean, that is commanding respect without dramatic.
I don't know if Mr. Modi is hurting from the Karnataka laws, but you're definitely hurting from the praise that Mr. Modi's got. Smita Prakash, let me draw you in on this one. Ek taraf, Dr. Sanjay Jha says that it doesn't matter abroad who says what about which leader. And in the other breath, next breath, he says, Barack Obama said this about Manmohan Singh. Mera neta tumhare neta se safed kaise? Mera neta tumhare neta se bada kaise? Is this an argument that is being said by Dr. Sanjay Jha to convince us that, whatever Modi is getting today is something that the Congress has already got before?
Yeah, thank you, Navika. I covered that state visit of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and no doubt that Dr. Manmohan Singh was accorded a great deal of respect by President Obama, and he literally hero worshipped him at that stage. Dr. Manmohan Singh got 2 terms as Prime Minister of this country. Given a chance, if Congress comes to power, will you make Dr. Manmohan Singh a Prime Minister again just because President Obama had him for the first state visit? No, right? Everybody did their tenure and went on. President Obama did his tenures and went on. Dr. Manmohan Singh is no longer the Prime Minister candidate of your party. So, or the party that you used to represent. That having been said, the second part, Navika, is about media. Yeah, media indices are so bad that Sanjay Jha does not come on any TV channel in India because his voice is muzzled. He cannot speak. No opposition leader comes on Times Now, comes on NDTV, comes on Republic, comes on ABP, comes on. I can start naming the regional channels, hundreds of them. No opposition leader comes because media is muzzled in this country. No newspaper takes any op-ed of any of these voices against Mr. Modi because media is muzzled in this country. Am I saying the truth? Do you agree with this? Every night you come and say Modi is useless, Modi is rubbish, Modi should not be Prime Minister of this country, Modi is a tamash been. Every night you come on every channel to say this, and yet you say your voice is muzzled or media freedom doesn't exist in this country. So anyway, to come back to the Modi visit on which this debate is on, I think clearly the loss in Karnataka has not taken the sheen out of Modi's impact abroad. As far as India is concerned, of course, in India we can only measure it by elections, state elections and the central election, and not what I say or not what Mr. Jha says or not what you say also. The only measure is elections for a politician. As far as Mr. Modi is seen, he's still seen as a leader of a country to reckon with and a leader to reckon with. Every president, prime minister he has met in the past 3 days in this real high table has said that. He's not betrayed any sign of discomfiture after this electoral loss in Karnataka. Domestically, yes, you can say it's a setback because the South has gone out of the BJP's grip. But the PM is very much on the saddle of his government, and the operational methodology, which we say, that's not taken a hit as far as Prime Minister's outreach towards the expats are concerned, towards foreign nations are concerned, towards foreign policy is concerned. I think nothing has got impacted because of one electoral loss. It's not weakened India's standing or Mr. Modi's standing in the world. And one more thing before I end, there are many people who think that when the media of a particular country makes these disparaging op-eds in their newspapers, that reflects on the way the country's foreign policy is. For example, if New York Times or Times or Washington Post writes several op-eds against India, media freedom, religious freedoms and Modi, and writes disparagingly about everything to do about India, that reflects on the way America is, or American foreign policy or American president is towards India and towards Mr. Modi. No, it's not. There is bipartisan support. The foreign policy is completely on Chanakya Niti in every country. We saw that with Rishi Sunak and Modi. We saw that with the Australian Prime Minister and Modi. We saw that with the President and Mr. Modi, regardless of what the media writes in their countries about India.
Well, so let me get in Mr. Mojumdar. Mr. Mojumdar, just one election loss in India, in Karnataka, maybe a setback for now. But is the opposition writing off Mr. Modi, especially when you see a spectacle like the one we saw in the last 3 days, not just in Australia, but even in Japan, in Papua New Guinea, and all of these countries, and his foreign policy, the kind of respect that he's got. Mr. Mojumdar, now Mamata Banerjee's only agenda is to defeat Mr. Modi in Rajya Sabha, and then what?
Navika, I remember Modi went to Texas, America, and said, "Abki baar Trump sarkar," and Trump lost the election. Similarly, if Australian Prime Minister says something glorious about Modi, that will not ensure win of Modi in India, because the Indian election will not be fought on what Australian Prime Minister said. Indian election will be fought on unemployment, the money to the people, the price rise, all these things, the position of the poor people. And my friend, if I may call that Smita Prakash, that is, I was amazed on her analysis that the question of root issues, the basic issues in India, if Modi is the face of BJP, he is, unstoppable, then why in India the regular feature like Karnataka elections is having? And another point, that Kashmir is now holding G20 some meeting, and 5 of the important critical countries, they have decided to boycott it. How you can see Modi is in Australia getting huge response in India from Indian diaspora, and in India, I won't repeat the Manipur position, I won't say Karnataka, I will say why G20 India is the president, and 5 countries dare, I should say, dare to boycott India, and some of them are called very good friendly relations with the countries. So these are all eyewash about the foreign policy.
Okay, Mr. Mojumdar, Smita Prakash is contradicting you. Smita?
Yes, I really think the TMC is so on the ball to call Pakistan and Turkey these critical countries who should be taking part in Kashmir. So critical to Indian foreign policy that without them, it is such a disaster to have Kashmir hosting. Do you not understand at some point of time to get over your party politics? And yes, who says that Mr. Modi is going to win out here because Australia says so? No, of course not. He's your prime minister who's there in a foreign country. That's all that he's representing. Okay, he's not going to win election, and even he knows that. Once he's done with the visit, you can bet that the BJP is going to get him to campaign even in your state, sir.
Well, so Mr. Mojumdar, the question is, do you really think that Pakistan and Turkey are important cornerstones to India's foreign policy?
No, question is different.
What is the question?
No, question is highlighting Modi, it's fine.
Answer this point.
Highlighting Modi is fine. I want to ask you, for the Trinamool Congress is highlighting Turkey and Pakistan the extent of your understanding of foreign policy?
No, Saudi Arabia, we thought Saudi Arabia is our friend. Saudi Arabia decided to boycott. Oh, it's not that.
You answer Pakistan and Turkey now.
No, now Saudi Arabia has also become a major country.
Pakistan, we understand. No, Navika, 1 minute. That Egypt and Saudi Arabia, they are supposed to be very good, friendly relation with India. They are boycotting. Why? You have to, don't take the only name of Pakistan. Saudi
Do you
Arabia,
know
why they are doing that thing? IPL, the current IPL going on, Saudi Arabia is one of the partner of IPL, and they are now boycotting the G20 meeting. And you are saying it's all right? Question is not. Question is, you are forgetting the domestic issues. You are forgetting or neglecting common people. You are
Saudi Arabia is a domestic issue.
The common people, they matter at the end. Common people will vote, and they will give the judgment.
I think you made it pretty clear that Saudi Arabia is a domestic issue for you.
Well, Mr. Mojumdar, I don't know. Pakistan and Turkey, Ajay Alokji, are important partners in our foreign policy. Now they are boycotting, so we should be hanging our heads in shame. And Saudi Arabia is a domestic issue, says the Trinamool Congress. Please respond, because I'm at a loss for words.
No, question is, I have just put up a question. You are taking the...
No, so I am getting the answer to that question which only Ajay Alok can give, because I cannot give that. I am not capable of giving you a reply on that one. So Ajay Alok, you have to feel the questions of Mr. Mojumdar. Please respond to it.
Yeah, Navika ji, we are in times now, but some people in this country, and especially the opposition, don't realize that what is times now saying. The times of countries have changed, the norms have changed, and if they believe that they have such a myopic vision toward the foreign policy of India, and to support the Islamic Brotherhood of these 5 countries will deter our foreign policy, and you are with those 5 countries, then that reflects your mindset that how much belief in Islamic Brotherhood you have, sir. We don't have that. I've listened to Mr. Sanjay Jha and now from my TMC friend, and I'm really astonished the kind of utter frustration and depression they have regarding prime ministers. Every prime minister has his own time and era, right? We don't take it from them. But you can't quantify your prime ministership with another prime ministership. Every time the country has taken a leap, the prime minister himself said in the Lok Sabha that every prime minister, every government has a contribution towards the country. What we need to understand today is what happening today has not happened before. Not only with the Indian diaspora, but also with the neighboring countries also in the world, the kind of impact India is having, the global impact, what we say. Why did, just give me one answer, Sanjay, why did earlier Prime Minister never had any concern? Never had any concern. Just let me finish and you speak.
Okay,
let me ask the question.
So I thought I'll answer you.
Why did, I'm asking you one question. Why did the earlier
when you're done, I'll answer you.
Earlier Prime Minister never had this idea of meeting Indian diaspora settled in abroad? What do you think? This is some fanfare? You said Abhineta chahiye, Rajneta chahiye, Abhineta nahi. Isn't this utter disrespect towards the famous leaders we have got in this country who were earlier actors? Like NTR, N.T. Ramarao, Jayalalitha. We have plethoras of these kind of leaders. So why are you making this kind of statement? Just your angst toward Mr. Modi, you're depleting everything. You are not facing at the issue. Why did we had to take 28 long years? Why we had to take make minute. Khatam kar lu 10 second aur. Why did it had to take 28 long years for Mr. Modi in 2014 to visit Australia and promise that he will come again, and today he's back again? Now about Kashmir. After 1986,
10 second
match, this is the biggest celebration Kashmir is having. And we are concerned about 5 nations who are not participating, but we are not concerned about the 60 nations who are participating and seeing the development happening in Kashmir. Why didn't it happen before? The world is witnessing India's growth as a major economic power.
अजय भाई जरा आपने बहुत लंबा भाषण दिया, लेकिन आप तो फिर लोगों को गुमराह करने में नंबर 1 है। आपने मेरा जवाब नहीं दिया। मणिपुर में कितने लोगों की मृत्यु हुई आप जानते हैं? आपको आंकड़े मालूम है? 73 Indians are dead. Okay, and it's a communal violence, and you know that. Has the Prime Minister gone there? He's busy doing a roadshow in Bengaluru during the Karnataka elections. And right now you are talking about his roadshow in Australia.
No, and why? Then the same question can apply to you, Dr. Sanjay Jha. The question asked of you is 5 countries not attending G20 in Kashmir. Is that more important, or is the message that India is sending to the world that Kashmir is part of India and we don't care if Saudi Arabia doesn't come, Turkey doesn't come, Pakistan doesn't come, China doesn't come? Because our message is very clear that Kashmir is part of India. Does the Congress stand by that position of India, or do you actually now stand to miss China attending these G20 celebrations and meetings in Kashmir? Where do you stand on it?
Navika, can I answer you very categorically and explicitly? I don't think anybody in the Congress is talking about Kashmir. Obviously, it is a part of India. That's not even a...
So then why didn't you call out? Why didn't you call out? You call out Mr. Modi at the drop of a hat. Why didn't you call out Mr. Majumdar of the TMC, who is today sitting and lamenting that Turkey and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are not part of the G20 in Kashmir?
Navika, let me tell you, India under Mr. Modi has allowed itself to become like a vassal of America, because America is using India as just a bulwark against China. And I think this is a matter of concern. I mean, why is India believing that Russia will in all probability stay neutral or will come to India's support in the case of China getting aggressive on our borders? There are bigger national security implications.
My friend, so you think China not being in Kashmir is a problem, and India is sitting on the lap of the United States and not in the lap of Russia? India is buying oil from Russia, but all of this details must be escaping your attention, because Because you only want to see what you want to see. And let me get in Mr. Brijmohan Srivastava. Mr. Brijmohan, I'm coming to you, Mr. Majumdar. You've stirred a hornet's nest, and let me ask Mr. Brijmohan Srivastava. Do you stand with the Trinamool Congress on this issue that Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, China are not part of G20? Or do you stand with the message that India is sending out that Kashmir is a part of India now on global forums, and G20 is being hosted by India in Kashmir? I want to ask you, where do you stand on this?
For you. Navika, just I had a question for only...
No, why are you asking me? Why are you in the habit of asking irrelevant questions?
I want to ask you a question, 10 seconds. Just you said, that means that friendship with Saudi Arabia and India, that the condition was that Saudi Arabia will think that Kashmir is not a part since the meeting
it
is
doesn't matter.
That's why they written.
Mr. Majumdar, does the Trinamool Congress agree with the Congress party on everything? Do you or do you not?
I am. Why?
Then how do you expect Saudi Arabia to agree with anything with India?
You answer logical question.
I am also answering you the same logic that you are raising. You want to have a united opposition without any common agenda. You want to fight against each other in your own state, but you want the world, the voters in this country to believe that you are all together, and that is the question. There are fault lines within the opposition unity, and Mr. Majumdar is talking about the fault lines between Saudi Arabia and India for not, being together in Kashmir. I mean, Mr. Brijmohan Srivastava, give me a break.
Navika, you are the anchor. You are getting agitated on uncomfortable questions.
I am. Yes, sir. On the issue of Kashmir, I have the right to get agitated, my friend. I have the right to get agitated on the issue of Kashmir when you begin to speak the language of Pakistan, Turkey and Saudi Arabia. I have the right to get agitated. Calm down. Brijmohan Srivastava, please respond.
Person of BJP, please.
No, I'm not the spokesperson of any party except my country, India. And Kashmir is part of India, and I stand with that ideology, whoever follows it. Okay? If you don't follow it, I'm certainly not with you. Brijmohan Srivastava ji.
Navika ji, when China is not coming to attending G20 at Kashmir, so it's also surprised us, because our present government is having very good business relations with the China. 3,652 Chinese citizens are the directors in our different companies in India, and they are getting money and sending to their country. So why the government of India is not taking any decision on it? If they feel that it is not good. One thing. Second thing is this, that we are not jealous. We are not jealous to our Prime Minister if he is getting warm welcome out of the country, because we are, for Rashtrapati Congress Party, we are having very different views in it. We are having our domestic policies, and we are having the foreign policy also. In foreign policy, we always support the government of India, who may be a Prime Minister or who may be a Foreign Secretary. It makes no difference to us. No doubt, our Prime Minister is getting sufficient support, warm welcome in the different countries. It's a pleasure to us. But he is in those countries, he is a representative of 100% of the Indians. But whenever he touches the India, whenever he comes to the India, he becomes a popular leader of only the 36% peoples, 36% population. So we are not in 36%. So we condemn our Prime Minister if he is doing anything wrong. I want to ask this question: why the Prime Minister is not taking any action against the police officers? They are not ready to register to arrest the concerning person who is registered in the PASCO Act. It is a valid question. Why one should not ask this question? It's a very important thing.
Prime Minister may be lauded by Americans, by Australians, by anybody else, but there are domestic questions that need to be answered. Manipur is one of them, and the striking athletes the second question. Please respond to both.
Navika ji, simply I want 10 seconds also. Navika ji, only 10 seconds.
Okay.
Why a citizen of India, if he is a victim of someone, why the police is not registering his case? Why they have to go to the Supreme Court of India? Supreme Court of India, not the district court, not the high court. Supreme Court of India. How many people are having this much strength to go to the Supreme Court of India? What is the role of a citizen of India then? This is a question. Why Prime Minister is not replying on this question? It's a major issue.
First of all, my friend should know that the Delhi police is acting on the advice of the Supreme Court only, and everything is being conducted by the advice of the Supreme Court. So there is no question of violation of any Supreme Court order, number one. Number two, my friend Sanjay Jha, as good as he has always been myopic about Narendra Modi and BJP, as a typical sense of anger and frustration comes out when he speaks. He was talking of Manipur that I am not answering. Well, Manipur violence is a concern for every Indian. And Home Ministry is directly looking into it, and Home Minister is directly looking into it, and everything is under control, my dear friend. Please let me know. No. You have been in power, your former party, your supposed to be party, which you are not in line with, are they not responsible for all the Manipur happening and all the Northeast happenings? Of all the violence and all the killings in Northeast that happened in the last 60 years? Isn't the Congress party responsible? Only by bribing the Naga people, only by bribing Nagaland leaders in Bangladesh or in Burma, we have been dealing with our foreign policy like anything. Today, every part of the Northeast has seen the spurt of development. Wait, well, now listen. Everything is now getting under control, and they are seeing the spurt of development.
Condemning
the whole of infrastructure. That's hurting you.
How can you blame the opposition? It's your government.
No. That's hurting you. First time a government has taken a position to solve the issue. That is hurting you. That is hurting you because bribing and keeping somebody in control. That was your policy.
Kudos abroad, but dragging at home. That is what we are saying. Abbas Haider. Now, getting the opposition unity for a defeat of the BJP in Rajya Sabha, is that the latest lowest common denominator for opposition unity? And are you going to support that?
Navika ji, not just the opposition but the entire country is united against the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is a reality, and if we return to the topic of today, certainly we are the biggest democracy of the world, and every leader of our country who has visited a foreign land has been accorded great amount of respect and welcome, and even in the future it will always happen, I'm sure. But I think any head of the state or a head of the government who is visiting a foreign land as part of the diplomacy, they should be focused on the interest of their country rather than their PR agencies, their political party making it a political issue, making it something which could help them in PR wise. I think I totally believe that India has been a torch bearer for the globe for the centuries. But now when our Prime Minister Mr. Ajay Alok was talking about the Indian diaspora in Australia, so their biggest concern, their biggest problem is racist attacks against them. Recently, like 4 or 5 months back, a guy was stabbed 11 times in Sydney where Mr. Prime Minister was speaking, but he couldn't say a word about that. So I think our focus should be on the interest
oh my
of
God!
Indians,
You want these issues to be stated in a stadium where there is diaspora present and with the President of Australia and not behind closed doors. Smita Prakash, are we turning diplomatic relations on its head by having these kind of expectations? I mean, he's a rock star. That's what he was called. But you expect him to do this? Has any Prime Minister done this before this, Smita?
So, look, there are about, if I'm not mistaken, some 600,000 or 650,000 people of Indian origin in Australia, and this is in a country which is sparsely populated. And the Prime Minister, you can be certain that the Indian embassy and the Indian consulates deal with this issue. It's not something that is discussed in a stadium. These are issues, racist attacks. Of course, every time there is a racist attack, wherever it may be, it can be in Canada, it can be in UK, it can be in America, it can be in Australia, wherever there is a racist attack on Indians, you can be certain that this is something that the embassy does. At prime ministerial level, it is certainly not done, and it's certainly not discussed in a stadium where you're talking to expat Indians. Maybe closed door meetings with expat Indians, it might come up where the leaders might talk. The other thing, Navika, before I conclude, I have to bring this up. When Mr. Jha says that that Modi has turned India into a vassal state of America, if I'm not mistaken, that was his terminology. Let me just tell the viewers of Times Now, just Google Dr. Manmohan Singh, so be it, nuclear deal. Mr. Jha, you do that too. It is Dr. Manmohan Singh who reset ties with India, with America. He almost staked his government on that. He almost lost that confidence vote. He is the one who reset ties with America, and Mr. Modi's BJP government is just continuing that policy towards America. Well, I mean, you just Google this. I don't even need to for me.
Absolutely, it was an interview in the Telegraph done by an older colleague of ours, Manini Chatterjee, where Dr. Manmohan Singh said this. It's part of history, but of course, history is something that many in the opposition would not like to remember, because it is the present and the future that they are more concerned about, especially when the future is as close as 2024 elections. Then, actually bringing down Modi after the high he's seen over the last 3 days in different nations and the different kinds of adulation that he's seen, then bringing him down a few notches can be the topmost priority for the opposition parties in India. Do we agree with it or not? Well, you make up your mind, viewers.